Hello and welcome to 20 Lore Pro. Thank you so much for joining us here today as we watch the Hunter Burton Memorial Lorcana Championship. This was the second annual event, the 11th year for the Hunter Burton Memorial itself, and we are so thankful that 20 Lore Pro was invited back for this year's tournament. This year we had over 70 competitors compete in the Lorcana tournament, along with many side events and freebies that were raffled and given out all throughout the day. We want to thank our Enchanted Level sponsors Cloud Collectibles, Random Encounter Games, The Card Haven, Pixelborn, Mothership Books and Games, and Pixel Haven. Thanks to them and many within the community, we were able to raise over $7,500 to support 988, the U.S. National Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. If you or a loved one are experiencing suicidal ideation or are going through a mental health crisis, reach out to 988. There's support available 24/7, and there are professionals who want to help you find the right resources that you need. Again, this is 20 Lore Pro, and I'm Sir Ashtown, and thank you so much for joining us. We also want to thank Miguel over at Diamond Ink Apparel for doing the beautiful artwork on the Lorcana Championship playmats that you see before you on the tournament screen. If you want to get yours non-serialized, you can head on over to 20lore.pro to our merch section. Also, there will be a link in the description to get yours today. We want to thank GFQ for printing those playmats and for being a long-time partner alongside 20 Lore Pro. Thank you, GFQ Underground, for printing those mats. And here we are going on to the next round.
Welcome back to the... Oh, are we unmuted? Muted? All right. Welcome back to the Hunter Burton Memorial Tournament. I'm Liam. I'm joined this time by Brandon and Tannon. If you've been following the Lorcana DLC circuit at all, these are two faces that you'll definitely recognize. We're here and super excited to hang out with them in the booth for a bit. We do have some metadata to talk to you about for the top 8. Before I do that, though, for those who are just coming into the stream, I wanted to talk a little bit about Hunter Burton and what it is so you're familiar with the tournament. And I'm actually, to do that, I'm going to pitch it over to Tannon, who is so much more familiar with the history of the tournament than I am. Can you tell us a little bit about the Hunter Burton Memorial Tournament and what it is?
Yeah, so this is, we're into the double-digit years now of the Hunter Burton Memorial. It's modeled after a Magic player that was local to the area, really competitive guy that sadly took his own life. A few years ago, I even played against the guy. I knew him a lot when I was a lot younger, and this tournament was put together in remembrance of him and in trying to help prevent stuff like this from happening in the future. Yeah. Sadly, we have too many people that have this happen to them, families that have this happen to them, or I don't know many people who haven't been touched by this in some way, unfortunately, in their lives. And the hashtag here is gaming to prevent suicide. And so a lot of people, especially in the gaming community, you feel very unseen, but people are out there, look, we're trying to help foster a community that helps prevent this from happening in the future. And it's really important that we give people safe spaces to operate in, find friends in, find people that are like you, representation matters and stuff like that. So this grew from a very small tournament the first time around to maybe, like they were in just like pretty much a broom closet to this is a full-blown convention center. We've got tournaments from, Magic, Lorcana, we've got Flesh and Blood, there's Pokemon going here, there's professional wrestling stuff going on here. I've done some box breaks and we're doing another one here today. I'm exhausted. I've been doing so much here this weekend, but I couldn't be happier. It's so much fun. I come to these every single time. I can fit it into my schedule. It's so much fun. I know I'm talking a lot. I apologize, guys.
Okay.
Anyone who's watched the DLCs, this is what I do. But it's a really great cause is the biggest thing here, and that's what it's about. And so that's why I'm sure you've probably mentioned this before, but the overall community here just seems happier. They're super nice. Everyone's really great and awesome being here. And I couldn't be happier to be part of such a great organization and such a great cause.
Yeah, I totally agree. Your first year here.
Yeah, so I was going to say I couldn't come last year. I wanted to because it's actually my sister's birthday weekend, but I was able to get away this weekend. And I didn't understand the scope of this tournament. Like I didn't realize, the convention tournament, I guess.
Yeah, multiple floors.
Yeah, it's like a convention, isn't it?
There's like so much happening here. There's a bunch of different booths downstairs and, of course, a bunch of other events happening for different games. And so I'm really excited that they've pulled Lorcana into this as well. Stunning Rob, one of the organizers with 20 Lore, during the players meeting yesterday, talked about Hunter Burton and how how cool of a guy he was, and
Yeah.
how he thought, you know, he would be playing Lorcana along with us if he were still here.
He was much larger than life. Like if you think I have a personality or one of us has a personality, we would have been in his shadow for sure.
Yeah, and so I think it's really special that Tannon, like you said, that this has been created and it's grown to the size that it has, so that people in the gaming community can feel seen, can find community, because it is important. A lot of us feel like outcasts in the rest of the world, and so I know I've definitely struggled with some of the topics around this, and known people that have struggled with it as well. And so I think that also influenced what it felt like on the floor yesterday and today, knowing that we're kind of coming in, we're playing this tournament as sort of a charity thing, and the money that we're spending on this tournament is going to good causes and to help people in those scenarios. And the Disney Lorcana community is already amazing, and at DLCs everybody's happy and smiling and things like that, but especially for something like this, even though it is a competitive tournament, everybody's just super nice and genuine, talking to each other, having fun. Honestly, everything you'd expect from a Disney Lorcana community.
And it's kind of filtered out into the other communities here. It feels like that. You know, you've probably heard me say that I feel like the Lorcana community is the best one that I've ever been a part of, the happiest one, just the best all around. Yeah, just a little bit like a... And I definitely wanted to bring up one more thing here too. There are dozens and dozens of people working this event, including, you know, ourselves, you know, and everything here. No one's getting paid.
Yeah.
Everything here is pure volunteer from everybody here. So I want to give a shout out to, you know, Liam, Brandon, you guys are awesome. 20 Lore Pro as well. Everybody here running the tournament. You know, I know your wife is helping out quite a bit. She looks like she's got her hands full with the baby and everything else that's going on.
Yes.
I'm running around like a crazy person doing all kinds of stuff. We're working 2 to 3 different things here the entire weekend, and I couldn't be happier. Being able to give back it's a blessing, right?
Yeah.
You know, we don't get to always do that, and at this level with this kind of impact is awesome. And there's a lot of people here that have been here since the beginning or latched on very early. You know, the second, the third, the fourth one. And everyone here is excited to give their time and do this, because it takes 5-6 days to do this of this week, plus months of planning. And people are all volunteering their time to do that. So we couldn't do it without them. I think it's very important that they get to at least mentioned when it comes up. You know, you had started to do that yourself. Yeah.
Totally agree. It's a lot, and a lot of these folks do it. Yeah, as you said, for no pay, and it's just something that they love. And yeah, so if you are able to put it on your calendar. If you're able to make it next year, it's a great event. And you know, especially in the Lorcana space or any of these TCGs here, come and play. Go play the Magic one, then come play the Lorcana one the next day. You can do that. So yeah, definitely something to add to your calendar.
Really great prizes as well.
Really great prizes.
Money, huge trophies, like all kinds of cool stuff going on.
And cool people. So
present company excluded.
Yeah. That's why they stick us back here, away from everybody else.
That's why we're in the brew closet. Yeah.
That's right. So Lorcana, though, this is Lorcana's second year at the Hunter Burton Memorial Tournament. Obviously, the game hasn't been around that long, but very early on last year, 20 Lore Pro jumped on, made the first one happen, and this is the second version of the Lorcana tournament. Brandon, you got to play in this second iteration yesterday. I do have the meta for the top 8, but before we talk about that, was the field, what did you expect coming in, and was the field what you expected meta-wise?
So I know in the past week, there's been a lot of talk in the Lorcana community about Sapphire Steel, specifically
so much.
An Oswald item list. There's also a couple like Kiwi Bird lists out there. For anybody that's unfamiliar, just essentially an aggro version of Blue Steel. So there's a couple that have been floating around, and was definitely the thing that I expected coming into this tournament, to be at the top tables, the top players bringing it. And that was half true. I know that Zan and Aaron were on Blue Steel. A couple other people that I knew were playing Blue Steel. The items list that they did so well with last weekend. And I was also expecting Red Blue also, because, I mean, Sapphire is just so strong this set. I imagine there'd be a couple aggro decks out there. I was thinking specifically something like Amethyst Steel. I know that the Chernadog deck, or the Tramp aggro deck, was making some waves as well, and made it into the top 8. You can thank Katie for that one. She said that on the other stream. And so I was expecting a little bit of that. Being on the floor, I saw a couple. I mean, I could see what people were playing around me. There was less Blue Steel than I imagined, or less Sapphire Steel than I imagined, a little bit less Sapphire Ruby than I imagined as well. There was so much aggro. Like, there was so much Amber, specifically. I saw a lot of Daisy Ducks. There were multiple variations of Steel as well. Steel, I think, was very heavily represented this weekend. I want to say, like, the majority of the decks that I saw here were playing Steel even more than Sapphire. So I was a bit wrong, honestly, in my take. The deck that I ended up bringing this weekend was one that myself and Mo Shamlin played into Sapphire Steel a lot. We tested a lot into the items matchup and also into Red Blue because that's what we thought we were going to run into. And unfortunately,
nope,
we didn't hit them really at all. I hit one Red Blue item stack in round 1 and won that match. And then I think Mo hit he kept calling it a set 5 Sapphire Steel deck because they were playing the Ward Aerials and like none of the new cards. So I think it was a bit of a miss on our end. Mo made it today too. I unfortunately did not because I just got aggroed out for the rest of the day, which is fine.
You just wanted to come hang out with us.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
like
Just an
you
excuse.
say that jokingly, but that is true. Like I almost didn't come to the event until a couple of my friends were like, "You should go. There's going to be a ton of people there that you know, like Liam and Aaron and Tannon and a bunch of people that we see at DLCs." And so even if you do scrub out of the tournament, you still get to spend a weekend supporting a really great cause and getting to see your friends. You know, I see like people in the chat are talking about there's no DLC in the near future. We don't know when there might be one, so we kind of have to take all these opportunities we can when we know we're all going to be in the same space. So even regardless of my performance in the weekend, it's been super fun and worth coming out and just seeing everybody, watching everybody play.
Yeah, I mean, we make our own DLC.
Yeah.
So yeah, interesting meta. I will echo what you said. I think Blue Steel was in the zeitgeist so much based on its early performances in this meta, particularly at the SSG tournament. Zansiad putting it on the map with the Oswalds that went crazy in value. And so what happens when you have like a tier 0 deck or something that is that omnipresent in the meta is you either play it and go to the dark side, or you have to play around it. And I thought people would lean a lot more into the playing it version, but I guess it turns out that when a deck is that expensive, people play around it more. So yeah, a lot more aggro.
I'd be playing it.
You would be playing it.
Yeah.
I think
I'm a dark sider, yeah.
You are a dark.
I think that was my miscalculation coming into this weekend because I just assumed, you know, it had been talked about so much in the past week. Everybody thought it was, you know, the tier 0 deck. And I just expected to see a lot of it kind of without thinking about, oh, we're only a week from release and this deck is about $600. The cards that you need from the new set are very expensive. Not everybody's going to have it. And I even heard people this weekend say like, oh yeah, I'm not playing Sapphire Steel and I'm playing aggro because
Couldn't get Tameo.
Yeah, I couldn't get all the cards. They're expensive and it was easier for me to build this deck. So something to think about.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about, or before I do that, Tannon, have you got to watch the meta much this time around or play much? Any thoughts?
So I've gotten to watch a little bit. You know, I was obviously aware of what Zan and Jeremy did.
Yes.
You know, and saw the decks and stuff. I have not played this set yet. I have only seen a few of the new cards. I've been busy with the Magic stuff, as you saw. I just named a Magic card on accident. Going from one game. Look, here's the thing. I do a lot of casting for Magic. I do a lot of casting for Lorcana.
Yes.
I can never talk about the other game while I'm doing the game, so this is a little more relaxed. I feel looser. I don't have to worry about, you know, getting fired for saying the wrong thing. I'm not serious. That would never actually happen. But doing both in the same day is difficult. I will say that. Getting from, you know, one to the other. So I've been kind of watching while I can. I've been unbelievably busy with the Magic stuff this weekend. I have seen a little bit of it. I'm interested to see how the format is going to shake out because we have a boogeyman. You know, we have the Blue Steel deck because, you know, you were talking about this. When you have this deck like this, it's, am I going to play it or am I going to not play it? That's the biggest question. And when it becomes public enemy number 1 and everybody starts targeting it, then let's see if those decks can keep those numbers in check. It's okay if 1 or 2 of them make the top 8, but if it starts being half of top 8s, half of top 16s, half of top 32s, then maybe we have a problem. You know, if nothing else can, if it doesn't have a natural predator, you know, if it is just making everything else prey. So, I'm excited to see what happens there because Lorcana players, we've seen them come up with some really cool stuff. Right?
Yeah.
You know, you look back at just the Nationals tournament that we had recently in California. You know, we saw, you know, Red Purple win there, but with a wild variation of a list. You know, maybe something like that comes out to start combating this and starts getting free wins off of this deck. At that point, now you guys start making a decision: do I play this deck? Do I play something else? So, long way to say yes and no.
Well, it's funny you mention, you know, a deck being 50% of the top 8 in a given tournament, because in this tournament we do have a deck that's 50% of the top 8, but it's not the one that we all expected. It is not Blue Steel. It is in fact Green Steel,
really?
Yeah,
Yeah. I do want to tell everybody, I have no idea what's happened in this tournament.
Yeah.
I apologize if I say something wrong like that. I just jumped up here for a little while.
You're reacting in real time with the audience. I mean, us too.
Green Steel, my eyebrows went up. Like, what?
Yeah,
Wait,
right?
is this 2 sets ago? What's
yeah,
going on?
basically.
Did Zan play it today? Like, what's going on? You know?
Actually, last time Zan was the one who made it famous and broke the game with it, right?
Yeah.
And now this time he wasn't playing it, and it ended up dominating the meta. So we have 4 of the top 8 Green Steel lists. I will say one of those is a ridiculous pirate build.
Yes.
Whoa. Ridiculous or cool?
Both.
Why not?
Both at the same time.
Los dos.
It looks like so much fun to play. It looks so miserable to play against. I hope we get to see that on stream again, because if you didn't get to watch the match that we broadcast earlier, you should go watch it. It's wild. So anyway, 4 green steel lists. One of those is a pirate build. I'm not sure about the others. I think they lean more into the traditional green steel build. We do have 2 blue steel builds, but they're different. One is the item deck that Aaron Rubin's running. It's Zansad's list. They actually played the exact same deck in this tournament, and Aaron piloting it here into the 2nd seed. It's the item variant with Oswald. And then the other one is the blue steel aggro list, the Kiwi Bird list.
Yeah.
Ridiculous name. But it is the blue steel aggro. Who was it who popularized? Was that Harlan?
I believe it was Harlan.
It was Harlan. Harlan Sweet popularizing that list. And then rounding out the other 2, we do have 1 red-blue list. It never goes away.
It never will, by the way.
It's always there. I saw a couple of the lists here, and they were very similar to the previous list, just with the bell on top. But there are some fun new cards in this set that can go in that that red-blue list. We'll see if those are in this build. I haven't seen it yet. And then the last, we have an amethyst steel list. Very solid list. Actually, most of the amethyst steel lists that I've seen are very similar to the ones in previous sets. The biggest tool it got was the Cobra, which gives it a little extra reach. But they play very similar, I think, the amethyst steel list this meta to how they did in the last few metas. So that's what we have. And deck lists, they are working on getting those public, and we'll let you know when those are available for you all to look at. But what do you all think of this breakdown?
I'm gonna say right away, great, good. You know, I was kind of hoping, I expected half to be blue steel, if not more. You know, maybe it has something to do with the amount of people playing it here this weekend that kind of made that a little less likely. But you know, you agree, right? You thought it was going to be a good amount.
Yeah, it's like I was saying earlier. You know, that's what I'd prepared for coming into this tournament, was to see a lot of blue steel, and so I'm inclined to agree with you, Tannon, that I think
as you usually do.
It's a good thing that Sapphire Steel isn't running through this tournament, because I do think there was a lot of maybe. I'm hesitant to use the word overhype, because it is a very strong deck, but there were plenty of people in the Lorcana community that felt like we were already in a tier 0 format, which I just don't think was the case. And so I think it's good for us to see something that can also put up numbers at a tournament. I'm not particularly excited to hear that it's Emerald Steel
again,
because I'm not sure if this is one of the top players, but I definitely saw it in an Emerald Steel discard deck being played from somebody that was at least close to the top tables yesterday. I'm very excited to hear that one of them is a Pirates deck. I think that's amazing. I love the Pirate synergy that happened in this game, and a lot of the art on the cards too as well. I'm just a big Pirates fan in general. So that's kind of exciting.
And you get to play Pirates.
Yeah, exactly.
You guys are kind of haters too, you know that, right? Any deck that's like the best deck, or like the big.
Oh, I'm
deck,
definitely that way.
Yeah, I am. Yeah, exactly. I'm the exact same way.
I'm just a spike.
I talked to Zan yesterday before the round started, and we were talking about his deck list and the changes that he made, and he was like, "You brought Sapphire Steel, right?" And I'm like, "No, I'm the dude that wants to beat the best deck. I didn't bring Sapphire Steel."
You want to feel smart.
Yeah. I do. I want to feel innovative. I don't. I like.
Yeah. Nothing wrong with that.
I'm not gonna play down anybody else's achievements, but for me, it's like it's extra special if you come in with a deck that I didn't just pick up from somewhere and then play correctly. You know what I mean? So
these kids today, they're so idealistic.
Yeah.
I mean, it's cool. Nobody's perfect, you know.
Yeah, especially me. So.
Somebody asking in the chat, I'm monitoring here. Somebody asked when was the Pirate deck played on stream. I don't remember the exact round. It was earlier today, though. I think I watched it. I commentated it with with Hal. I forget. I forget which round it is.
They all blend into one, don't they?
They do.
Yeah.
They do. But the thing that makes that deck so bonkers, it's the synergy is so strong with the Pirates and with the locations that any single card on the board, as threatening or not as it is, can immediately become way more dangerous as soon as they play 1 or 2 cards. Even a card that the most simple, like least threatening card, like Captain Hook Forceful Duelist in the mid game, is just sitting there, a 1/2 Challenger 3 pirate, just kind of doing his thing. As soon as they drop a Hidden Cove and then Daisy Pirate Captain, that Captain Hook slides over and quests, and they draw a card. And then you drop a Space Pirate or Pirate Pete, Space Pirate, and all of a sudden all our pirates have resist. So like every single threat becomes exponentially worse when that player drops the right number of cards. And it's just a very stressful deck to play against. Even locations, like 3-4 locations on the board, there's a couple in that deck which don't even gain lore, and they just sit there, and you're like, fine, I got to clear these out, it's a pain, and then all of a sudden the John Silver comes down, which gains lore for every location, and it's a 4 lore, resist 3 quester, and you're like,
what do I do against this?
what do I do again?
Yeah.
Especially answer something in the chat real quick. Top 8 is going to be broadcast very, very soon. We're getting the players ready and everything, so there's a small break between Swiss and Top 8.
Especially into a meta that there seems to be so much steel and a little bit less ruby. Decks like that where you can build up resist on characters through Pete Space Pirate Captain and also John Silver seems really good.
Yeah, it's really good. Blurple being represented, no Blurple in the top 8. We did, a couple players ran it here, but it did not crack the top 8. Mentioning the break between, one of the things the players are doing in addition to deck checks is they're being given the chance to review their opponent's decks. Since some players are on stream, some aren't, in a tournament like this, it's very important that all the players get as much access to that information as possible so that those who are on stream aren't unfairly advantaged. It's the way things usually run. But I do see players shuffling on one table. So let me look over at our producer / caster here to see if we're almost ready to go.
I was going to say, I'm probably going to have to leave you guys when the actual match starts. It's been fun with you guys, but I have other obligations as well today. But yeah, I don't have to just right this second. Are we going into the game? Because I don't want to interrupt.
They're shuffling-ish. I don't know.
I miss you guys.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Us too.
I would love some DLC sometime soon to hang out. I miss the Lorcana community. I miss Lorcana. I miss the community. I miss all of it.
Yeah, these events are fun. I do appreciate the Hunter Burton Memorial Tournament and other tournaments out there. CCS I'll mention because 20 Lore Pro is heading out there in a week or 2 weeks.
They've got a busy schedule.
Yeah.
Just off screen here, we're talking to.
Yeah.
Sorry.
You can't see.
Packed schedule. And
Here we go. Yeah.
There he is.
Look at that. Wesley's a caster extraordinaire, producer here, running the stream. Take a look at 20 Lore Pro's schedule and definitely subscribe to this channel because not only were they doing this week, but they're bouncing over to CCS next week. Big tournament with a lot of great players.
Big. I think it's now a 10K. I think it was
10K.
So that's Atlanta.
Okay.
And then you're going up north after that, right?
Yeah, Wisconsin.
Okay.
World-class cards, another tournament there. World-class cards team has a lot of amazing players. So these are highly competitive events. And if you're a competitive player or even a casual player, you're going to get to see some incredible Lorcana. Follow the 20 Lore Pro Twitch stream because they're traveling the country bringing you the very best. And I appreciate all of these tournament organizers for bringing this in the gaps between DLCs.
Yeah,
absolutely. A lot of freaking flyer miles, man. They're going to be racking up, right?
Yeah.
Get some miles on those bells.
I need to get 20 Lore Pro emblazoned on this channel.
Yeah.
We need to at least a patch or something, right?
By association.
Yeah.
It'd be cool by association.
Maybe like a pocket square that just has 20 Lore Pro on the top of it.
Oh, that's an idea.
Oh, God,
that's
what I'm here for.
If you're a pocket square maker out there, you can embroidery. Let me know.
That's one of those jobs that probably doesn't exist anymore.
Right? There's one.
Yeah. And they happen to be a Lorcana fan. We got them. Yeah.
Yeah. Funny. I want to talk about a story about vinyl, but I'll save it. This is a Lorcana stream.
I was gonna say we don't need to date ourselves that much.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Because this guy's really young compared to us.
Yeah, I'm the young guy.
Vinyl's
Let it be
cool
known
again, though.
Let it be known. I'm the young Lorcana community person.
25?
I'll take 25.
26?
I'm 26.
Okay.
Pretty good. It's pretty good.
I hit the big 4-0 recently, so.
Okay.
Me too.
Yeah. When did you turn 40?
September.
Oh, I got you by a little bit of November. So I can call you old man. Sweet. I'm not the oldest anymore. Yes.
All right. Look at this. So.
Oh yes. Okay. So LorcanaKid was the was one of the ones that I was talking about earlier, playing an Emerald Steel discard list. So I'm interested to see what he has here.
Well, Brandon, William, I love you two both a lot.
We love you, Tannon.
You're
I'm
the
glad
best,
you could come in
Tannon.
and talk for a minute.
Absolutely. Lorcana community, I miss you a lot. Hopefully we see each other soon. If I have some more time today, I'll try to jump back in a little bit, but I don't think you guys need me. I think you can handle this without me. So everybody, thanks for having me a little bit, 20 Lure Pro. Y'all are awesome. Keep putting on these awesome shows. I would love to help in any way I can, but I got to get back over to the Magic and some of the professional wrestling stuff and some other stuff. It's going to be a lot of fun. All right, guys. I'll see y'all later.
Take it
Chat.
easy, Tannon.
Y'all be good.
Tannon taught us everything we knew. Great
True.
mentor.
Actually true. I do have to shout out Tannon for that. I will never forget when we showed up to Atlanta, we really had, I won't say we had no idea what we were doing, but we were definitely green. And Tannon immediately just sort of took us under his wing and helped us get to where we are now.
Yeah, absolutely. So can't thank him enough for that. Can't think of it. Indelible impact on the Lorcana casting community. So
Okay, it looks like both of these players are shuffling up their decks. I missed when I was talking if they've already altered their hands or not, but we do have an Emerald Steel versus Emerald Steel matchup here. I do know that LorcanaKid is playing a discard version of the deck. Not sure what Helsing in. How do we pronounce this?
I had a hard time.
Helsingus?
Is that Chase? It's Chase.
Chase?
Yeah,
All right,
we're gonna call him
just
Chase.
gonna call him Chase.
Much easier that way.
Not sure what Chase is on though, so eager to see how this matchup turns out.
Now, should point out too, Chase is a very well-respected Lorcana player in the Dallas community, very well-known player. LorcanaKid, that's not just a name, that is, I think, our youngest competitor, one of our youngest competitors here this weekend.
Here, yeah. There were a lot of kids here. I was surprised, yeah.
And making the top 8 here, going toe-to-toe with some of the best players in Lorcana, and making the top cut over some of them. So very talented young player, and we're excited to see kind of the next generation of Lorcana pros in development here. So
yes.
Very exciting.
Yeah, I love to see these young kids up here in the top tables with all the adults, just to hopefully give inspiration to any other of the younger people out there who want to play this game. You know, this can be you with some practice. So be inspired, I guess.
Absolutely.
It does look like Chase might be playing the pirate version of Emerald Steel.
Yes, that's what this looks like. I forgot who was playing it, but I do see the Captain Hook in there. There's the Smee, and there's the Mine, which are 3 of the cards that we saw in that pirate list. So we bragged about it. We talked about it earlier. You're going to see it, I think, here in action. Buckle up, folks. This is a fun one.
I would be very happy to see Pirates take down discard. LorcanaKid is going to start with a Diablo, looking at Chase's hand here to see what we're working with. There's 2 removal actions. We have the location, the John Silver and Pete, which might all end up being relevant. One thing that Chase, I think, is going to really need to look for is the Daisy Duck that lets him draw cards with locations because, of course, playing against a discard deck, your hand resources are going to be more important than anything. And unless Chase can come out swinging really quickly, it won't take very long for LorcanaKid to take advantage of that.
Yeah, that's a great point. These discard decks are not as fast on the discard as previous iterations. They do kind of hit their discard stride in the mid game, but I do see Chase there with the Daisy Duck in the top of his hand, so that is available. And yeah, getting that online will be key. We do have the Seven Dwarfs Mine come down. Again, this is a location with 1 lore that allows you to deal 1 damage to an opposing character when you move a character there for the first time each turn. 2 if it's a knight, but I don't think there's any pirate knights yet.
No, not that I know of. I do like to see the Seven Dwarfs Mine being played, though. Historically, Emerald Steel, the discard version, has struggled to take care of location. So if this Seven Dwarfs Mine can stay in play for a long time, it does have that 1 lore. So Chase is going to be able to tick up every turn with that lore. I believe the Pirates deck is a little bit more aggressive than the Emerald Steel discard version of Emerald Steel is. So Chase could be racing him to 20 here, but we do see the Diablo already being shifted by LorcanaKid. This is going to mean that LorcanaKid is going to have a handful of cards, very likely, exerting this to deal 2 damage to the Seven Dwarves, starting to put some damage on it, get rid of it, and we're going to pass over to Chase so that LorcanaKid can draw.
And already putting hand pressure on there. We did have a Sudden Chill sung by the Diablo, so already trying to whittle down that hand, trying to prevent that Daisy from getting on board, I think. But 3 lore on, we can... well, we're not going to... Nope, that's 3 lore for the Pirate. Yeah, so that is the John Silver, which gains an extra lore and resist for every location in play. So it's already getting a little extra there from that Mine. And not a lot of strength on LorcanaKid's side of the board yet to deal with that Mine or some of these other threats. So the Pirate deck is starting to click a little.
Go back over to LorcanaKid. It looks like we are going to start putting that hand pressure on, singing the Sudden Chill with Diablo, forcing Chase to discard one of the cards in hand. I don't know that he has very many. We are going to discard the...
We are down to the Daisy.
just the Daisy, which will be important. We won't have enough ink on the next turn to both play the Daisy and move John Silver to a location, but you can see those combos that you were talking about earlier, Liam. Playing the Daisy, a vital engine for card draw here. LorcanaKid, maybe understanding this already, we saw him putting the 2 damage onto the Seven Dwarfs Mine, knowing that you can't let these locations stay for too long so that these John Silvers don't get too big. You also can't get those draws off of Daisy as well.
Looks like a decision here. I mean, if we can force... I didn't get a full look at the hand. I saw a Beast Tragic Hero in there at the very least, but if we can get Chase into top deck mode here, that would feel pretty good for LorcanaKid. Another Diablo.
Another Diablo. This is going to be pretty bad for Chase, I think. LorcanaKid, if we can keep both of these Diablos on board, which I can't see why they won't stay. We do see a location being drawn. I can't tell if that's a Hidden Cove or a DeVille Manor, because I'm honestly not sure what Chase is playing. We're going to be 1 ink short, well, a couple inks short of being able to play this Daisy and also use that location.
Well, and it's just so brutal because what Diablo does, the way out of getting into top deck mode here is trying to find some of your card draw. But here we have the Daisy on board, and obviously in a normal scenario, the Daisy Duck next turn being able to draw you potentially 3 cards with these pirates feels really good. But not when your opponent has 2 Diablos online. 3 cards for you, 6 cards for them. And so the Chase's way back in this game feels terrible when you're enabling your opponent like that.
Yeah, you're just giving your opponent more fuel in order to use against you and also continue to disrupt that hand that you are trying to build back. We are going to see a morph being played here by LorcanaKid, following it up as it comes to his next turn. Not sure what was inked there, but we're
Deceiver.
Okay, a Deceiver being inked. We are going to use both Diablos to take out this Seven Dwarfs Mine, so no locations in play anymore for Daisy Duck to use, except we did draw a DeVille Manor, it looks like, coming into play. 1 cost, 4 willpower, 1 lore location, so we can go ahead and move. I'm blanking on the name. Captain Hook.
Captain Hook,
Forceful Duelist to the DeVille Manor, which does let Chase draw a card.
But then 2 cards for LorcanaKid.
Yes, 2 for LorcanaKid. And even in a situation like this, where you only have 1 or 2 cards for Chase, it's not a great position because if LorcanaKid has any discard, it just makes it really easy to get that card out of hand. So we do see Chase go ahead and inking, dumping his hand, playing the Captain Hook. We're going to move the Daisy Duck to the DeVille Manor as well. And the John Silver, I think.
And a quest again, and I don't think we didn't draw any cards there. I believe that was a quest for the Daisy Duck. Didn't draw any cards. I have to double check that it's a May ability. That makes sense. It's liable to be dumped anyway. And we do know, I'm pretty sure LorcanaKid is running Prince John. So at this point, when you can, okay, well, there we go. Now you know.
Yeah, I've seen them.
Fair. So now, Prince John's played. Any discard represents, more cards for LorcanaKid. And that's, the last thing you want here.
Yeah, this is brutal too. LorcanaKid using Strength of a Raging Fire to banish the Daisy Duck. It's like a... we don't talk about Bruno to get rid of the John Silver as well. Put it back in Chase's hand, discard a random card. It's the only card in hand, so it's one that gets discarded. And this is where the tides might start turning for LorcanaKid here. Chase no longer has a draw engine, and most of his board is getting removed. Every time Chase draws, LorcanaKid's going to get to draw 2 on his turn. Plus, we have the draw engine of Beast. LorcanaKid is building up that wide board. We see these Emerald Steel discard players transitioning into the mid and late game, just building up a giant board, being able to quest out. And it looks like, did they scoop? Go ahead and scoop.
Yeah,
to LorcanaKid.
That was it. Wow. 2 Diablos online is rough. So this discard deck doing what this discard deck has always done, taking the very aggressive line there with Diablo, getting it on the board early, and then immediately using Sudden Chill and a couple other cards to start forcing discard, whittling down the hand, and it's the Pyro deck never really able to fully establish. It actually did develop a fairly decent board there for a moment with the Daisy Duck, but the Diablo is drawing so many cards that LorcanaKid had all of the removal answers he needed to keep Chase under control, and that honestly felt a little one-sided from the start, that one.
Yeah, there's something to be said about opening broken things early in the game, right? I think one of the reasons that people have been so concerned about Sapphire decks instead is because of the new bell that got released. It's a 3/3 that you can essentially get out on 1 if you can play an item, very synergistic with Sapphire decks. But another thing that has been broken for a while that will continue to stay broken is this Diablo shift line. You can play the Diablo on 1, see what your opponent's working with, shift the Diablo on 2, and then use it to sing something like discard or removal or anything like that, and it's very likely that it's going to survive at least that long, so you can start drawing cards off of it as well, and especially against a pirate deck like this. I'm not sure how many evasive characters Chase might be playing, whether he's playing any cards like Fire the Cannons or any removal for these Diablos. So if he can't find that to disrupt LorcanaKid from getting these Diablos out, it is going to be really tough for him to keep up, just because I don't think this Pirates deck has a particularly great draw engine into a deck like this specifically, if it's having to rely on having a location out in play, having the Daisy as well, and other pirates that you can move to these locations in order to facilitate that draw. But there's something to be said about how fast the pirate deck can go. I think Chase could be able to play out an aggressive enough line that you could maybe race to 20 before LorcanaKid was able to get set up.
Yeah, I think the key is dealing with that Diablo. If you have the cards you need, some people are running, you know, as our card viewer here is showing, Fire the Cannons to deal with early turn Diablos. I can't remember if the pirate deck is running that, but it would be on theme.
Yeah.
So if you can deal with the early Diablo, I think that you are able then to establish yourself in the mid game. It feels a lot better. But I will say, chat pointing out, Lemke Lorcana and Rascalat, I believe that Daisy is a must trigger. I said I wasn't sure if it was. It sounds like it is. And so you have to draw there. And perhaps I missed the draw. Yeah, well, draw a card. It is a must. So there we go. With beautiful art by Joachim van Gool.
Yeah, I love all of the pirate art from the past couple of sets. Like I mentioned earlier, pirates are just my favorite like theme kind of in general. My favorite live action Disney movies are the Pirates of the Caribbean movies. So I was very excited when we started seeing a bunch of those being implemented into Disney Lorcana. And I haven't built a Pirates deck yet, but the fact that one was able to make it all the way to top 8 here definitely makes me want to when I go back home.
It looks fun to play, if nothing else.
Yeah.
But I tell you, when it gets going, it really feels oppressive. So let's see. Hopefully, I'm not, you know, I don't root for or against any player, but I generally root for a game 3 because I love to watch Lorcana.
I do
so
too, yeah.
I'd love to see, I'd love to demonstrate for everybody what this pirate deck can do. So we'll see.
I believe last game Chase was on the draw, or sorry, on the play as well. So it looks like this time he's going to open up with a Diablo, get a look at what LorcanaKid is working with. We've got lots of discard in hand. We do have a Diablo shift line available as well.
And it's a brutal one too because we have the Storm Rage on along with it. So I think we have everything you need to shift and then play the Storm Rage on immediately. Doesn't feel good to see that.
No, definitely doesn't feel good for Chase, I don't think. We're going to go ahead and ink the Beast Tragic Hero. We don't have a way to shift that out early in the hand we saw. And we're both just going to look at each other's hands. We're going to play with an open hand here.
Take a little
what
peek.
we're each looking at.
Oh, and not a great opening here. We do see that other cheap Pete to get him out. And we do have the Pete shift, but I guess we can shift the Diablo, so we could discard that action. We can get that online.
Yeah, we do have a strength in hand to discard. It does look like we draw a dock for Chase here, which could be pretty good. We talked about how you need draw engines available. Dock is definitely one of those. I think a Pirates deck is one where you're generally playing a lot of the cards out of your hand, so you usually don't have a lot in hand anyway, which of course synergizes with Dock, being able to discard your hand and draw 2 cards. So not terrible seeing that. It is a little bit early to see him, but it looks like we're going to ink the Pete here. Would be surprised if we don't shift the Diablo. Yeah, we're going to shift the Diablo, discarding the Strength of Raging Fire. Go ahead and quest with that so that we can start drawing some extra cards when LorcanaKid draws on his turn.
I mean, 1 extra card at least, but as we saw set up here, we do have the perfect answer over on LorcanaKid's side for this. You may as well get a card, I guess, but I think we're going to see the shift, probably a Sing, let the Storm Rage on, deal with that Diablo, draw a card, there it is. Just a brutal opening when you're playing against any green steel deck. One of the reasons that some of these 3 like Belle is so useful with her 3 willpower on turn 1 and other higher willpower characters early on. It's just this combo has been around for quite a while now, and you hate to run into it.
We see LorcanaKid understanding the matchup as well, using his 2 ink to play the sudden chill, knowing that if he can get Chase down to 0 cards, putting pressure on those resources, it's basically going to be GG for him. We're going to pass it on over to Chase. We're going to ink that Pete. We're going to play out our second Diablo. Hope that LorcanaKid doesn't have an answer to this one as well.
I just want this to stick around for 1 turn. That'd be nice. Another note I'll note, just observe, we are playing the docks, so that will synergize with the 7 Dwarves Mine if that comes into play. That is another answer for Diablo if it comes to that. Now we have another discard with Hypnotize. Another discard with Sudden Chill. There goes the hand.
LorcanaKid's forced Chase to discard, I think, 3 cards at this point. We're going to discard the Captain Hook and the Smee. Diablo is going to survive the turn, though, as we pass back over to Chase. We did find a Storm off the top.
What a top deck.
We're going to think that with Diablo. That means our Diablo gets to live another turn. Also means LorcanaKid can't use the Diablo to sing anything on the next turn, so he's going to have to do a little bit of extra setup. Pass it back over to LorcanaKid, and Chase gets to draw a card.
That's true. That Diablo is likely to stick around unless you want to spend a whole turn dealing with it. There's the Heffalumps and Woozles.
Bubs and Woozles coming down. I believe that lets LorcanaKid draw a card. And then he chooses the Diablo with it as well. We're going to see the Morph come down for LorcanaKid. Could be setting up a shift target, either a Beast or a Diablo. I'm not sure what is in the hand.
Yeah, Heffalumps and Woozles, I mean, an impactful play here. Obviously, you want that Diablo exerted, and so unless you can sing with it, that's going to be shut off for next turn. So a fun little card that you see run here and there, not terribly often, but being used to great effect here. Although
it does look like, did Chase quest with the Diablo here, even though it was chosen with Heffalumps?
It seems it may have been. I'm not sure. I didn't see it sing that, so that's my guess. So it may just be a forgotten trigger there.
Yeah, it may have been forgotten. A little error.
Or they played so fast I went a whole turn. I didn't realize. Oh, so here's the Ursula Deceiver coming down, and we have some options for the Deceiver.
We are going to choose to get rid of this Along Came Zeus. We do have the Storm in hand still.
And
Okay, and we do have the Beast Tragic Hero shifting in. We're going to go ahead and quest with it. Gain 2. Chase does have that Storm in hand that we can use to damage the Beast if we want to stop the draw for LorcanaKid. Obviously, won't get rid of the Beast, but at least stop a little bit of that card advantage that LorcanaKid can use. It does look like that's what we're going to do. We'll draw a card.
LorcanaKid ready with that dice, knew that was coming.
Ink the final one platinum, and we do see the Pete come down as well. This could be good if the Pete survives very long. When he's exerted, your opponent can't sing to play songs, so they're forced to just use their ink to play them. Also, just a pretty beefy character, 5/5, 2 lore, gives all of your pirate characters resist +1,
including himself.
Yeah, which can be really big, specifically into a steel matchup. We are going to see a Prince John coming down for LorcanaKid though, so I missed how many cards are still in his hand. I wonder if we're sitting on any discard, but setting up a bunch of draw engines, essentially.
I don't know that we have... No, I think there's at least one down there, but not many. We did draw into a location here. I think that's the Hidden Cove. So let's see if we have anything to pair it with.
Yeah, that is a Hidden Cove, it looks like. We're going to move the Pete there. We're going to use the Pete to challenge and banish the Beast.
That resist 1. Coming into play here. One note on Beast, the extra strength that he gets only takes effect during your turn, and so even though he's angry during your turn, he's sitting there and he's sad if he's exerted on on your opponent's turn, susceptible there to that challenge from Pete.
I think this is a pretty good development for Chase 2, getting this Daisy on board. It doesn't look like we have a ton of cards in hand, but now that we have this draw engine available, so long as it sticks around, just another way for us to gain card advantage with the Diablo. Does look like we're going to play out the Ana here, using the extra ink and her ability to banish the damaged character, Pete, which is a really good draw and really good play for LorcanaKid, because that Pete being a 6/6 with resist +1, it's going to be pretty difficult for him to get rid of.
And represents a card draw. Every pirate on the board now with Daisy on the board represents being able to draw 1 card during Chase's turn. And so getting that off the board, not only is it a big threat, but it's 1 more card that Chase could draw into to keep his board progressing here.
Are also going to deal some damage to this Hidden Cove. Pass it on over to Chase. I believe we also played Heffalumps on the Diablo again last turn, so Diablo should be able to quest, but looks like we're not doing that. We're singing, let the Storm Rage on, banishing that morph. We don't want it turning into a Diablo or Tragic Beast. We'll draw a card from that Storm. We're going to move the Daisy to the Cove. I don't believe the Daisy triggers on herself, so I don't think you can...
I think she does.
Get a card draw.
I have to double check. I think she does, actually. It says whenever a pirate...
Oh, yeah, whenever one of your pirate character... Wait, quests while at a location. Yeah, so I guess she does.
Yep, she gives you a card. And there's another location, and goodness... one more pirate. We have Hook Forceful Duelist there, and we also have the Pete, used for a shift target. Not terribly powerful, used for a shift target, but also used to banish items. No items over there on LorcanaKid's side. So, but we will slide them all over the Hidden Cove. They're all hanging out there together, because why not? Until it's banished, and now they're all floating in the ether. Let the Storm Rage on coming down, banishing that Diablo. That's a great play there. Shut down that card draw. And a games referee coming down saying no actions. during your next turn.
No actions on the next turn, but we will be able to move all of these pirates to the location that was played last turn. We can draw a bunch of cards if we want. 7 Doors Mine coming down too. This is looking pretty good for Chase. Just setting up a wide board, forcing LorcanaKid to have to answer all of it. And these locations coming in with not the biggest willpower, but Emerald Steel discard typically doesn't have high strength characters. We see the Prince John and Ursula both only having 1, Anna only having 2 strength. Pete having 3 is nice as well, but gonna have to spend multiple turns just sort of hitting these locations that are slowly gaining 1 lore every turn. We are gonna go ahead and move the Pete to this location, quest with it to draw a card, see if there's anything we can do with what we drew this turn. We did find another Diablo. Okay, so this could be pretty good for Chase if LorcanaKid doesn't have an answer to that as well. Just Chase putting threat after threat onto the board. We're gonna use the Captain Hook to challenge and banish the Prince John so that LorcanaKid can't get any draws off of it, any discards.
Yeah, cleaning up the board here quite nicely. Choosing to forego the card draw there in the interest of cleaning things out. But LorcanaKid, I think, if he's not in top deck mode, he's pretty close. And so definitely keeping that board under control is the way to go here.
Yeah, the less characters that are on LorcanaKid's side of the board, the more difficult it's going to be for him to banish these locations and characters that Chase is just building out. We are going to see the Ursula trade here with the Daisy.
Great trade for LorcanaKid. Get that Daisy off the board. And an Ursula card that's done her work already.
So LorcanaKid play this Ursula Deceiver of All. So if we top deck a song, that could be pretty good for us. Something like a Storm Rage On would be really great.
Yeah, absolutely. This is a card that can swing things kind of drastically. Being able to sing songs twice, get you 2 cards perhaps off Let the Storm Rage On. Plenty of other tricks as well. But the Diablo sticking around here will be able to exert it this turn on that card draw. And yeah, it's looking a lot better on the pirate side of things.
We're going to move the Pete to the 7 Dwarves, deal 1 damage to the Ursula so that we can play a Strength of Raging Fire, I think is what that was. Dealing 2 damage, banishing the Ursula so that LorcanaKid can't top deck a song and start coming back from this game. We're going to move over to LorcanaKid. Did find a We Don't Talk About Bruno that's going to be put back into Chase's hand. He's going to shuffle and a random card gets discarded. Going to roll for evens or odds, and it looks like Diablo gets hit. So
it's probably pretty. I don't know what that other card is, but it probably feels pretty good to get that out there.
Yeah, just any way to stop Chase from gaining any advantage.
But looking at pointed out these locations again. I mean, the thing with them is most of them have a decent number of willpower with the stats, and they're just going to hang around. Even if LorcanaKid manages to establish a board, you spend significant resources challenging into these locations, spending time to remove them, which will allow Chase to develop other characters. So, locations oftentimes are thought of as pretty innocuous or pretty harmless, but if you allow them to build up, they're just so frustrating to get rid of.
One of the things that you see top-level Lorcana players doing is sort of attacking on different axes, right? You can use your characters to gain lore and quest with those. But you can also utilize things like locations. If you can build up a board and make it give your opponent multiple different threats that they need to answer, you kind of have to leave the locations alone. And especially if they have lore on them, they're just going to slowly tick up as the game goes on, as we've seen this happen for Chase here, all the way up to 17. We're going to go up to 18 with the Pete. They're playing a 3rd location. I really don't think there's anything LorcanaKid's going to be able to draw in order to stop this. Oh, was that I find him at Platinum? Oh my gosh. Okay, never mind.
Find him at Platinum. Yeah, it's great. Yeah, as we were talking about the resilience of locations, there comes I find him my Platinum.
It does look like LorcanaKid is going to go ahead and scoop, give this one a chase. We are going to go to that game 3 that we talked about. Yeah,
this is fun. So we got to see a little more clicking here. Banish all
items, not locations. Yeah. Okay.
I found him a Platinum. Yeah, and yep. So another card that we saw played near the end there, I'll just point out, is that John Silver. One of the things that can allow this deck to run away with the game, with 3 locations on the board, that John Silver that he played was a 4 lore character with resist 3. Kind of brutal. Another card that on its own is kind of innocuous, but one of the things I've seen this deck do again and again is exactly what Chase just did, and build up about 3, even 4 locations that your opponent just can't deal with because they're dealing with other threats, trying to remove the daisies, everything else. And you think you're under control because there's a Hidden Cove here and a Deville Manor there and some other stuff. And then all of a sudden, this John Silver comes down and it's questing for 4 or 5. It's one of the ways that this deck can be very, very swingy. And and allow you to run away with things if you're not careful.
He's definitely a game ender, and especially playing into his steel deck, just because their options of removal are not going to be as easy as ones like Ruby might be able to use, where you can just play a card and banish a character, especially if you're able to build that lead with the locations like we were talking earlier, being able to like get you closer and closer to 20 if you can just get close enough and then slam this John Silver. You know, he's enough to get you over the line, especially paired with something like a Pete, for instance.
Yeah, absolutely.
Looks like we are going to go into the altering phase here. It looks like Chase is thinking about putting back 3.
Yeah, I do think, you know, during the hand alter phase on the LorcanaKid side, I think LorcanaKid's had a pretty good opening both games and managed to alter in exactly what he wants. I'm sure he's looking for very similar cards. That Diablo shift line is fairly oppressive, especially if you can pair it with Let the Storm Rage On. So I'm sure he's looking for something very similar. On the other side, you know, I'm sure the game plan is, well, you want to establish as early pirates, you know, second turn Smee if you want to start pushing the lore. But on the draw, it's a little bit harder to be aggressive. You want to be thinking about control. So maybe a Smee early on for board control. Perhaps you look at Ursula Deceiver to try to pick one of those early songs, either the Sudden Chill that's going to eat your hand or the Let the Storm Rage On. I don't know. What would you be mulliganing to here for the pirate build?
I think you definitely want to be establishing some sort of card advantage engine, whether that's the Daisy Duck. I would specifically be looking for something like the Diablo, because I think in these Emerald Steel mirror matches, Diablo is really the thing that you have to be. You're in a Diablo battle. Whoever's Diablo ends up surviving the Storm Rages on and fire the cannons and whatever else they're using to shoot the birds down, usually ends up being the advantage person and winning that game. And we saw that last game where both players were kind of trading back and forth with their Diablos. So one of the best things you can do in Lorcana is do something broken on the first couple turns, and that, you know, that's just a prime example. We do see LorcanaKid going to start out with a small Diablo, get a look at Chase's hand. We do see Chase does have the Diablo shift line
with the Let the Storm Rage On, so excellent counter there to that first Diablo. So we see the exact same scenario in reverse here. May see that play out.
See the Daisy being inked. We're going to play the Diablo. We'll see what LorcanaKid's working with. He does have the Diablo shift line, but no way to remove Chase's Diablo through those songs unless he just drew a Storm here.
Yeah, that Storm could be the difference.
Oh yes, he found it. Oh my gosh, he finds the Storm off the top.
Showing it off. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Wow. I mean, I really thought that this game might come down to, you know, Chase being able to remove that Diablo on the draw there, not allow it to be established. And now,
oh man,
that's brutal.
I missed if we had a Tragic Beast in hand too. We see LorcanaKid pumping his fist, knowing how big of a draw that was, especially if we can follow up this morph with something like a Tragic Beast. LorcanaKid's going to be very ahead, being able to answer that Diablo. Chase's Diablo here.
Such a bummer for Chase too. I mean, you do have to Let the Storm Rage On, but without the Diablo, you have to sing it or take a whole turn to do it. Nothing to be done here on turn 2. That was the turn 2 play, and so now we're gonna put out the Hidden Cove there and slide everything to it. Quest to turn that Diablo on, draw a card during Chase's draw, and now we'll see if Chase wants to spend a whole turn removing that Diablo or try to establish some board presence.
Did we move the Diablo to the Cove as well?
I believe so.
We did. Yeah. So the Storm that was previously in hand isn't going to get rid of the Diablo at this point too. LorcanaKid understanding that going into turn 3, that's going to be important to keep it on board. Difficult decision here. We are going to go ahead and move this morph, remove the morph with the Let the Storm Rage On.
Drawing a card, but then with that Diablo there, you know, letting LorcanaKid draw a card too. Huge play, that Hidden Cove. I mean, LorcanaKid has drawn into the perfect card each and every time to keep his engine building here.
Yeah, and just setting up the engine that Emerald Steel discard likes to do. We have the Diablo on board, so we have our card advantage engine. We've set up the Ursula, so now if Chase starts playing out characters, there's potentially songs we can use to remove those characters, or even if we have some discard in hand, we can start aggressively discarding Chase's hand with this Ursula Singer.
Oh, this is so brutal. Big choice to make here. We have 4. I know we have an Along Came Zeus in there, so we're gonna, I think, sing that. And which target do you choose here? Both of these are potentially huge threats. The Diablo giving card drive return, the Ursula with her double sing. Chase may not have a song to sing, but such a threat sitting there that Chase chooses to get rid of the Ursula, leaving that Diablo there. And here comes LorcanaKid with that Beast Tragic Hero. Could have shifted it on the morph, but we got rid of that. But here it is.
Yeah, I think Chase was probably looking to get rid of the Ursula so that he wasn't didn't have to double discard with something like Sudden Chill, only having a couple cards in hand, knowing that his resources are going to be super valuable here. But you're right, we do see the Beast coming down. That's going to be another card advantage engine for LorcanaKid here. But we are going to see, we're on Chase's turn, I believe. We're going to see what he decides to play with. We're going to ink a Cove, I believe. Play out Along Came Zeus on that Beast Tragic Hero, just doing what he can to slow down LorcanaKid and keep him off of all of these engines, these advantage makers. One of the things that Emerald Steel discard specifically does so well between the Diablos, Prince Johns, Ursulas, Beast Tragic Hero, it's like every turn you're playing something that has to be answered, including this turn.
Something has to be answered. Another Ursula Singer there. And I just, Chase doing a great job keeping those additional threats off the board, but playing those threats as LorcanaKid is doing is protecting that Diablo. And so every single turn, LorcanaKid's drawing 2 cards to the 1 that's being drawn over there by Chase. So just such a difficult spot to battle back from. And again, we can point it all back to top decking that Let the Storm Rage on, and then that Hidden Cove, which protected the Diablo from the storm.
I'd be really scared if I were in Chase's shoes right now, because if I see an Ursula and a Prince John coming out, that is telling me that there might be some discard in LorcanaKid's hand that he's looking to play and draw a bunch of cards off of this Prince John.
A Sudden Chill represents 2 cards drawn for LorcanaKid, to your point. We will get the Diablo on board into the Hidden Cove. You'd love to be able to activate that, because then that, your opponent drawing 2 cards feels a little bit better when
this is a
you're also drawing 2 cards.
I think this is a desperate play from Chase too, though, because with this Ursula out here, pretty much any removal song is going to get rid of the Diablo. We do see the Sudden Chill, so it's going to get a double trigger from the Ursula, and so it's going to... oh, did we play Hypnotize as well? I think I saw Chase discard 3 cards there.
Yeah, I mean, that might be...
Yeah, we did. We just put Hypnotize in the discard, so I think...
Yep.
I think we sang Sudden Chill twice and then played Hypnotize, so that's discarding all of the cards out of Chase's hand. We're going to get rid of the Diablo. Chase is going to go ahead and scoop, and LorcanaKid's going to move on to the semifinals, right?
Yeah, one of our youngest players. So here we saw traditional green steel discard against, really not much new in that deck. If I'm looking at the list here.
No, there's been a couple developments, not so much from the new cards of the set, but I do see that there's Lucifer, there's one Gantu that it looks like he's playing as well, which I love that card from this set. It just... a card that I feel like is so strong into this potential meta against items and songs as well, kind of shutting those down for a turn, or really disrupting the math on when you want to be playing certain cards. But other than that, it honestly doesn't look like too different of a list that you're used to for discard.
No, I mean, the Find 'em and Platinum's in there for this heavy item meta that people were expecting, but that's an older card. So yeah, the Gantu is the only one from the new set. So it's the old guard here, this Emerald Steel deck, which has been around for quite a while, versus the new Upstart Pirate build. And in this particular match, on this particular day, that discard deck is taking it. I do think on the play twice, winning on the play twice and losing on the draw. But that's that.
All right, we are going to come back to the booth here. And we're back. Hey!
Wesley!
Hey, glad to be joining y'all here.
Yeah.
Yeah, those. So if you've never been to one of 20 Lore Pro's events, when they're streaming, etc., Wesley is the man behind the camera who not only is a brilliant commentator on his own, so you oftentimes see him on camera, but he's also running a lot of the tech here. He's the producer a lot of the time. So one of the people who really makes all of this magic happen. And I love getting to spend time with him. So.
Wearing like all the hats. Great Lorcana player, doing all the production on the back end, casting as well.
I was telling Liam earlier that a lot of times, 20 Lore, we have the pleasure of coming to some of these tournaments and we get to stream them. But for the Hunter Burton, we're helping run it. We're actually organizing the actual tournament, so a little bit more balancing. But oh my gosh, that first match there for top 8, that was a blast to watch.
It was a blast. It was interesting to see an old deck still come in and do some work, with the discard, like we were saying earlier, not too different from what we
don't need
before.
No new cards.
That's what it is sometimes. I mean, I forget which set it was, but I think like Ed or No I'm Not showed up to a tournament like right after release with Ruby Amethyst, like an old Ruby Amethyst list. It's like sweep to the tournament. So like sometimes you don't need any of the new cards, man.
I like how and everybody always throws in like one card from the new set just to show that they've looked at it, right? Just to show that it's not that I haven't ignored the set. I looked. I'm just gonna throw in a Gantu, just just to show you that I thought about it.
Well, it's interesting because we have his list, Derek's list, and again, Derek is 12 years old. So,
Yeah,
I mean,
so
he was
impressive.
competing at a high level, but we have his list here, and you're right, he has a lot of one-ofs in his list.
Yeah.
Like one of the new Gontu, one Smash, one Hypnotize. So he had some cards they could pull out when he needed them and was able to find them to play them.
It's something that I think is really interesting to watch deck builders do. I feel like there's a ton of people that don't like to really do the one-of thing, and there's a lot of people who like to do it for the flexibility. So interesting to say that, yeah, there's just a couple cards that I think Derek thought, for particular matchups, they might come in handy, but maybe they're not worth playing 2 or 3 copies of. And obviously it's worked out for him so far this weekend.
Yeah, I do love the one-ofs. I was talking to Zan before this tournament, and I've told this story before, but tell it again for all of you. Sorry if you heard it before. But Zan, as an example of this, Zan said worked in one Shield of Arendelle to his list. Just one. And it's in there for a very specific reason. I mean, one, it adds another item, which is nice. But the biggest reason is in there is to protect the 6-drop Tamatoa from
Along
Came Zeus.
Yeah.
Like, that's it. And he pulls it back again with other Tamatoas. But and it wasn't even for the mirror necessarily. It was for the Steel Song matchup. He tested Steel Song and was like, I don't feel as great here. I put the Shield of Arendelle in, and all of a sudden Steel Song feels much better with a one-of card. And one other note on the one-ofs, just because sometimes it's a curve thing too, which is why I respect deck builders so much, because I can't think on this level sometimes. There's a great article by Frank Karsten about his initial Steel Song list, and I think he may have updated it since, but he has a one-of in the one drop slot in his deck, because he said it was very important for him to have this specific, I think it was 9 maybe, but it was very important for him to have this number of one-drops in his deck. And because of the math, that's what he needed. And so it wasn't necessarily about the card choice. It was that he needed the best card he could find for his deck in the one-drop slot, perhaps other better cards in other slots, because of the curve was so important. Sorry.
Yeah, it's fascinating.
Nerd stuff.
No, that makes a lot of sense. And Zan and Lorcana Bro, both here at the Hunter Burton Memorial, big deck testers together. They test a lot. And so they were trying to figure out the cards they needed, and that was one of them exactly. And Katie and Clara, some of you may have seen on their stream elsewhere, they're also streaming the Hunter Burton Memorial, but Match 2, those will be available on our YouTube, Toy Lore Pro, later on this week. But they got to commentate over Zan's match where he did use the Shield of Arendelle.
Okay.
And it did protect from Along Came Zeus.
Yeah.
So that exact scenario you're talking about, Liam, it came to fruition.
Yeah, it's one-of, and yeah. It's amazing. You build you're like, I need one card for this one very specific scenario, and then it plays out.
It happens, yeah. It's
Savants.
Sometimes there's a skill in and of itself of being able to sort of predict the things that you're going to have to fight against, right? Walking into any particular room, whether that's a specific deck, a specific card, or a specific ink color. And so there's a lot of talent there from these top players being able to do that. It's what, allows them to consistently top tournaments like we see them do.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, we want to thank y'all so much for joining us here with 20 Lore Pro, the Illuminateers, and B Squared Brandon. Great surprise to have just a great cast of casters giving you their wonderful analysis and really the gameplay, play-by-play analysis of what's going on. So thank y'all for joining us here today. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm happy you guys let me jump behind the booth here.
Thanks for having us. It means a lot.
Well, we're all here again to talk about Hunter Burton Memorial, and especially the U.S. National Suicide and Crisis Lifeline 988. That number again is 988. You can always reach out to them 24/7 if you or a loved one are going through a mental health crisis or through suicidal ideation. Reach out to 988. There's support available 24/7. We're so thankful to be here today to showcase Lorcana Set 7, but also to highlight this sombering event. If you have a chance, head on over to our YouTube later on this week. We'll have all of these rounds for you available to watch. Again, thank y'all for joining us here. We're going to go to a quick break, try to see if we can get over to match 2 for y'all. But if not, we will have the rest of top 4 available for you to watch. So thank y'all for joining us.